hear me out here. I summon Berserker class Shinji Ikari.
Oh no! Okay, I feel a bit more justified with my choice then, actually.
きっと約束だよいつかまた同じ笑顔で
Hello there, welcome back to The Box, the Annie Chat Box. My name is Cami, and I will be your host today. Thank you for joining us for another adventurous episode. And I'm not here by myself. I have my comrade in arms, Jonathan Joestar.
Hello, welcome to the UMUcast.
That's true. We're gonna keep a Umu count somewhere. I'm gonna just open a doc and be like Umu count. So at this point, oh shoot, I said it 6 times.
Yeah.
You just did it 3 times. So I'm gonna say we said it 5 times before. So right now we are at 8. So, it is the UMUcast indeed, because John is here with me today to review Fate Extra Last Encore. But before we get to that, I would love to drop you some of our social links. If you want to get in touch with us and tweet us, you can do so at twitter.com/AnnieChatBox. If you want to send us some email, check us out at anniechatmail@gmail.com. To listen to us, you can do so on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, or SoundCloud. And if you are feeling ever so kind and would like to donate, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/AnnieChatBox. Join our one loyal, wonderful patron, Sarah CorpsyAnn Carroll. That's a shout out to look for her on YouTube. She has a great channel full of travel vlogs and lifestyle videos, and she's just a generally awesome person. We love her very much, and thank you for your donations. All right. This topic was haphazardly thrown together by yours truly, but I figured since John and I are here to talk about Fate, and we're both just crazy Fate fans, we just talk about Fate in general, I decided to come up with a Fate-based topic. Today, you will be joining us for the Holy Weeb Wars. That's what I'm going to call it, because it's pretty accurate. Basically, I thought it would be fun for us to think about maybe servants, heroic servants that we would want to summon in our own Holy Grail War. But what if they were only allowed to be anime or game characters? And they have to be classified into servant classes, as all of the servants in the Fate shows are as well within the universe. There are 7 regular classes, including Saber class, Archer, Lancer, Rider class, Caster class, Assassin, and Berserker class. Did I miss any there, John?
Nope, you got them all. I was counting with you.
Ooh, how about you and I go on and off just to give some brief context on what each class is known for? Do you think we could do that?
Sure.
You go first with Saber, because I feel like you got this.
Okay, so to start off with, the definitions of classes is more generalized. Like Saber would more accurately be sword user, not specifically sabers, because pretty much every saber that I can think of has not actually used a saber. They've used claymores or other very big swords or some such. Its Saber class is generally considered the best. It's one of the more well-rounded classes, and most often the hero of the series will have a Saber class servant.
That's a good point, actually, now that I think about it.
As in Fate, the original Fate Stay Night, both in Zero and Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, you have Shiro summoning Saber. In Fate Extra, at least the anime, the main character summons Saber.
Did we cover Apocrypha?
Both Sabers in Apocrypha were portrayed as strong and characters that you should root for. Some of the servants in Apocrypha did come across as not too keen on this guy or this person. I don't quite
Mm-hmm.
agree with them, regardless of what side they were on, but both Sabers that were summoned, even though they're opposing side, it's like, who do I root for? I like them both. So yeah, I can't think of a Saber class servant that has not been someone that you can just like.
That's a good point you mentioned, that they're usually the main hero character. And it's actually funny if we consider then the archer class without giving spoilers away. But basically, the archer class is a servant who specializes in the use of projectile weaponry, which, John, you told me today and makes a lot of sense considering that in Fate Grand Order, there are archers that shoot with like guns or use like random claps of thunder that they generate from the ground to like shock people. It's very much not everybody is Robin Hood, though Robin Hood is a servant in the archer class.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't like super strong, but they have very good skills. And archer classes, I mean, I think they usually go pretty far in the narrative, usually, like of the Fate universe. They're not usually one of the first classes to die off, and there definitely are those from the shows that I've seen.
It's basically they fight at a range and usually have very, very good vision. Lancer class, actually is pretty self-explanatory. They affect it again. Although I suppose saying a lance, it's not specifically a lance. It's a long pole type weapon. So a spear, a javelin. I guess a halberd would count as a lance for a lancer class. Anything that is long and pokey.
Nice. They like to poke people. So then if we move past Lancer classes, and those are all the 3 Knights classes, they're also grouped into like subcategories. So that was the Knights classes, and now we're moving into cavalries. And maybe this is just Fate Grand Order's sorting, but yes. So next we would go to the Rider class. And the Rider class is known because they're mounted on something. And that can be a variety of things: living beasts, human constructs. They can also take control of like magic beasts or even like any sort of machinery, like motorcycles or planes. I guess dragons are the only exception, because the ability to ride dragons falls under a different skill. Good to know. Rider class tends to be my favorite class. I have a lot of favorite Fate characters who are riders, and I don't know if that means that they all just have great personalities, but I would be inclined to believe it. And they're also one of the classes that tends to like hit the hardest a lot, at least in like Fate Goes Round. They're one of the like tankiest classes, which makes sense. They have like some sort of vehicle of support and like a way to attack. They're totally direct attackers though as well. I think that's kind of implied.
They're kind of like living missiles at times.
There you go. Oh, I like that. That's true. They do kind of launch themselves into every battle. And what about casters?
Casters are seem quite self-explanatory. They tend to be like spellcaster kind of characters. I know Merlin is an option.
Merlin is like the best caster in Fate Grand Order. Like he's like S++ rank.
But again, there's some characters within the Fate canon roster of servants. I don't know what the term for it. In the realm of heroic spirits, that's it. Who fall under caster class, and you're like, what? For example, William Shakespeare.
Yes.
And it's like, but he's not magic, but like it's basically they're not the ones to get in and punch you or like swing a weapon at you. They stand back, they do stuff that has either helps others to fight you or have you fight against, like, it can be like blatant spellcasting, or it can be summoning things, or it can be creating things to fight for them. Or it can be literally, I'm going to power up this person and have them fight you.
That's so true. There's been a lot of just like interesting plot twists that I think revolve around caster classes in a lot of Fate shows.
Pretty much the Fate franchise has a way of going, oh, but this one does something different despite being this class. Like,
exactly. There's no logistics, which means our great Weeb War could be insanely ridiculous if we just throw logic out the window like Fate does with its own universe. But before we do that, speaking of throwing logic out the window, there is the Berserker class.
Nice.
Got claps, yay. So Berserker is the Mad Warrior, and they have a trait or something that happened to them in their past typically that makes them lose all control. Oftentimes I think it's called mad enhancement when they come into battle, and so they lose their sanity and become a lot more powerful. Another thing that's actually noted with the Berserker class that I find interesting is a lot of times their masters cannot control them, or their masters are equally as like psychologically unstable as they are. So Berserker class is really interesting to me because I think that they have so much potential. They can also be, they're not like tanky per se, but they hit really, really hard. But
it's not so much that they are tanky, it's they don't care.
That's true. A lot of times I think that one of their big disadvantages is the fact that they are so not sane. They probably lose track of the goal of getting the Holy Grail. And then especially, again, if their master is not, on track of what's going on. So they often have a very interesting, like, storyline. I know that sometimes they're led by their own vendetta or feelings, their masters included. Without spoiling, I'll just think back to, like, the Berserker in Fate Zero and the Berserker in Fate Stay Night, UBW. But I tend to actually like a lot of the Berserker characters a lot. And you know what? They don't have a lot of dialogue, but they're really interesting. Alrighty.
Berserkers tend to be strong, silent, growly types. Well, not necessarily silent, but like growly.
Growly is absolutely true. In Fate Grand Order, you can go into like your room and you can talk to the servants that you have summoned. And every time I try to talk to one of my Berserkers, it just goes like grrr. They don't say anything.
Or they've latched onto one particular line and will repeat that over and over again, as is the case of the Berserker I've read in Apocrypha.
Is that Spartacus or is
Spartacus.
it the other one? Yeah, I didn't know he says. I never use him in Fate Grand Order because he's so freaky looking.
He just talks about killing the oppressors over and over again.
Okay.
Are you the oppressors? I will kill the oppressors.
Well, we clearly know who the better Berserker in Apocrypha is. Just saying. Yeah, it's Fran. Fran's so good. All right. What about Assassin? And then I think we're gonna be ready after you tell us about Assassin.
Assassin is, again, not necessarily. They are. I mean, Assassin is a outlier class in the first place because, like, assassins are supposed to be sneaky, stabby. But like, how do you get famous as a sneaky, stabby person? But again, it's not so much. Assassins don't tend to be heroic spirits, but notorious. And like, so you've got Jack the Ripper, you've got Hassan, which is where the word assassin comes from. Thinking about it, James Bond would make a good assassin.
Dun dun dun. Yes, please.
I'm just sitting here like, what other assassins were there? And just like
there's the guy in Fate Stay Night, Sasaki Kojiro. That's his name. Sasaki Kojiro. Mm-hmm.
And it's not always like, oh, they're sneaky, stabby. It's more like they are very quick to get the kill. They're also very known for like one hit and you're done.
That's actually funny you mentioned quick to kill, because their main skill that assassins are strong in Fate Grand Order is quick attacks, where they get crit stars. So that's definitely on the money right there.
They can also be kind of squishy.
Yeah, and I feel like story-wise, they don't ever really get very far.
Yeah, I think the assassins that have gotten the most screen time were 100 Face to San, Jack the Ripper, and even then it was like, okay, now I am the focus episode. Okay, that's my focus episode gone, and now it's gone.
Bye. Yep.
And bye.
Exactly. All right. So again, just to review before we start, the 7 classes that we can summon anime servants for fall under the Assassin class, the Berserker class, the Caster class, the Rider class, Lancer class, Archer class, or the almighty Saber class. So the way that this is going to go is that John and I have each thought of 3 anime and or game heroic spirits that we would like to summon, and we are going to present them to each other and then just go into a mild fun debate thinking about who would probably end up superior. And this could be concluded through stubbornness, through wit, or just exhaustion on both our ends. And then we say, I don't want to fight anymore. So and so wins. But honestly, I think I'm going to be stomped because John is very much more into the lore and the knowledge and the mechanics of Fate than I am, where I just see characters that I'm like, they look cool, or they act cool. So this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be a fun ride.
I also picked ones that I'm like, yeah, this would be cool for a fight, and also
you even thought about fights. I kind of did, but yeah, this first one's gonna be fun. So for round 1 in our holy Weeb Wars, John, the new promising young master, who have you summoned?
I have summoned an Archer class servant called Alucard.
Is he from Hellsing?
From Hellsing, yes.
Is he Alucard from Hellsing or Hellsing Ultimate?
Hellsing Ultimate, of course. That go with the sexy Alucard.
I was gonna say it has to be the sexy one. Sweet, yes, we're on that same page. Okay, continue, please.
You got Hellsing, who's badass, and then you got Hellsing Ultimate, who's just smexy motherfucker. And
exactly,
he's still a badass, but he's more sexy than he is badass.
So how is he an archer class? What is his long range weapon?
So, Alucard's main weapons throughout all of Hellsing Ultimate is his dual pistols. He has a black.
Oh yes.
He's got a black gun and a silver gun. One is more aimed at hunting vampires, and the other is more aimed at hunting everything else. One fires silver bullets, and the other one is... I am actually completely blanking on what kind of bullets the other one fires. Was it Mike?
I'm actually really beginning to regret my choice of servant that I brought, and you'll understand when I reveal it. Is there anything else I should know about Alucard?
He's a vampire, so he's hard to kill.
He's a vampire, but he also hunts vampires, right?
He's a vampire, but he also hunts vampires. He's a tamed vampire. Alucard also comes from spelling the name Dracula backwards.
Yes.
So
okay. Does he? I bet he does. Does he still have the ability to turn into the dog monster?
Yes.
Yes.
I was keeping that as his noble phantasm.
I'm so sorry. I ruined everything. Last week on the Eurocamp episode, I revealed Cassie's thing that she was going camping, and now I'm revealing noble phantasm. Oh, forgive me. I'm so sorry. But then So what is the full description of his noble phantasm?
That I actually never finished writing now. But it basically boils down to so as a vampire or vampires, pretty much anyone that he has eaten, he has literally taken into himself. And he can saying regurgitate isn't exactly correct, but like he can like therefore bring them out and set them upon anyone he wants whenever he unlocks himself to 100%, and he can just unleash the entire army of everyone he has eaten over the years.
Nice. All right. I think I'm gonna get a little bit destroyed, but let's do it. Let's do it. So this initially started as just a fun idea when I was thinking about like long range sneaky fighting. So I summon an assassin class, the one and only Sebastian Michaelis from Black Butler, who is a demon butler, simply one hell of one, in fact, one might say. His primary assassin methods tend to be actually using silverware, if you've ever seen the show.
Ooh.
He uses knives and forks quite skillfully. But you brought Alucard, who has a fucking gun that destroys silver. So that's quite unfortunate for me.
But no, silver is like hurts vampires.
Bullets.
Silver tip bullets.
Oh shit.
So.
Oh shit. Oh man. Then my baby might actually have a little bit of an advantage there if he's using actual silverware, but he would, because his master, previously before me, his other previous master, Seal Phantomhide, was very rich and definitely had full-blown silverware. I'm gonna call that. And he is, in fact, a demon, which I'm trying to remember in Hellsing. Did Alucard ever fight like a demon, not a vampire, but just like a demon from hell?
No, the closest he came was to a non-vampire but like still monster-esque kind of thing was a regenerator, which was specifically why he got the other gun to fight against Regenerator, which was Father Alexander Anderson.
Okay. It's been a long time since I've watched Hellsing, but I watched the original one for a class about vampires and anime, and it was fun. Here, though, is where I do think Alucard's biggest deal is that his noble phantasm takes a lot of the shape of a dog. Sebastian hates dogs. I don't know if it's necessarily that he can't deal with them, but he doesn't want to. He's almost just like repulsed by them. So that is actually kind of a big problem. Sebastian's noble phantasm would probably just have to be unleashing his full power, which would mean just revealing himself to be his demon self, which we've never really seen outside of glimpses of him in like fucking ridiculous like stripper heels. And he had a goatee that resembled a goat, which makes sense if you think about like demon and Satan's imagery. There's sometimes a lot of like goat imagery in there. And then he's just got a lot of feathers. So we don't actually know a lot about him. I'm going to assume that he is very strong, but I don't know if he is like God mode level is the thing. And I want to say he has he like died? His physical form has been lost before, but I don't know if he's actually ever like died. I also do know though, and this is unfortunate for me, is that if he, so you know how a lot of the servants need mana? Yeah. So he, as a demon, feeds on the souls of humans, and so either he might get weak from battle if he can't like eat me right then, or I have to have a strong enough soul that like he'll fight hard enough to be able to eat me at the end. Like in in the original anime, like, he was starving to death, like, half the time, but he was like, but Seal is so powerful, so I'm just gonna, like, hold out and try to eat him. But I'm just a human girl. I'm not, like, a cool, rich English kid, so he might be diminished at that point. And I feel like Alucard, with, first off, his dog noble phantasm, his dog form, and the fact that it is brought on by masses, I think he'd probably be able to beat Sebastian, at least in form of stamina. You know, I think he'd be able to hold on a lot longer. That being said, I kind of like that we placed two, like, supernatural sexy dudes up against each other.
Yeah, and also, like, demons, vampires, both involve eating people. If these two got summoned in the Holy Grail War against each other, everyone's fucked.
That's true. Honestly, John, they'd probably, like, make some pact and then they'd, like, turn on us and then just,
probably.
like, eat all the human. Okay, let's be real. That's how it's gonna end. They're just gonna team up. They're both gonna be like, hey, you're another sexy demon/vampire supernatural thing. Let's be friends. We're both powerful. And they both kind of toy with humans, from what I recall in the anime. Like, I feel like Alucard, he was loyal to Integra, but I feel like he kind of, like, just kind of teased, what was her name? Ceres?
Yeah, Ceres Victoria. Who he's sired as well. He made her a vampire. But because she kept on refusing to drink blood herself, he was like, you're a shit vampire.
That's what it was. Yes. And Sebastian's like, I'll do what you want, but, like, I'm gonna mess with you, Seal, because you still have emotion. Because Seal tries to be like, no, I've just given up on humanity. But Sebastian's like, nah, I'm gonna just do all these things and, like, laugh at you in the corner and punk you. So I really wouldn't be surprised if both of them just... What's up?
I mean, Alucard is at least loyal to his master.
So there you go.
At least I didn't go with Hellsing Ultimate Abridged for Alucard, in which case we would be fucked. We would definitely be fucked.
Alright. Like...
Because he gives no shits.
It's hard for me to think of actual, like, results. I think that either they would team up and just say screw humanity, or I think you have a little bit more of an edge, because I also think that Alucard's fighting abilities are a bit more well-rounded out, so that leads to more, like, justifying windows of why he would probably win.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll accept that.
All right. That would bring us on to our second Weeb War clash, and I'll go first this time.
Alright.
Hear me out here. I summon Berserker class Shinji Ikari.
Oh no! Okay, I feel a bit more justified with my choice then, actually.
Okay. Oh, is this the one where you were like, it's too on the nose?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Okay, so let me just lay some of the logistics out there. This is Shinji, but he's in the damn robot. He has to be. That's how he was summoned. But his madness enhancement is that he's just so traumatized in there, and he doesn't want to be in there, so that's kind of where he starts acting like the unstable berserker. Okay, so putting that aside, who did you bring to this table?
I summoned Domonkashu as a rider class from G Gundam.
Hey! What are we doing right now? What the fuck? We both just had, like, two supernatural monsters, and then we both brought, like, mech things to this party. What the heck, John? What the fuck? Okay. You have to fill me in, though, because I don't know enough about Gundam. Tell me about this Gundam pilot and their skills and stuff.
So in G Gundam, the pilots wear a special suit that translates their physical action into the action of the Gundam that they're piloting. And and I specifically went with the God Gundam, aka Burning Gundam, because he also has head Vulcans and beam sabers. So, and also Damon Kashun is very skilled at martial arts. So my thought was, oh, he's skilled outside of the fight, so outside of the giant robot, so he doesn't need to be in the giant robot all the time. But should things happen, he can call the God Gundam from just about anywhere, because he fucking does in the TV series anyway. It's like he'll just be wandering around as himself, and then he'll find the person that he wants to challenge. It's like, rise Burning Gundam, or God Gundam, or Shining Gundam as it was originally.
So when you say God Gundam, is that like power levels, like how it's like God Super Saiyan God in Dragon Ball Z? Is this like the ultimate Gundam or something?
No, it is within
Okay.
the extended universe of Gundam, it is not the most powerful Gundam. That would be the Turn A Gundam. But yeah, God Gundam has the Burning Finger as well, and a super mode where it glows golden.
Nice.
But yeah,
Is glowing golden his noble phantasm?
It would definitely be the Burning Finger would definitely be his noble phantasm.
The burning finger.
His entire part, like he goes into super mode, he all goes glowy golden, and then his erupting burning finger, his entire hand gets red hot enough to melt metal with a touch.
Mm-hmm. I see. That's really cool.
Burning finger.
So I was gonna say, you don't know how many Evangelion doujinshi that I've read, and so when I hear burning finger and Shinji Ikari, I'm just kind of like, okay, I need some holy water. Bad thoughts right now. Bad touch. What was I going to say? I guess the thing that's very tricky with Shinji when he is inside Unit 1. Have you seen Evangelion?
I've not seen all of Evangelion, but I know I've seen the most of the rebuild movies. I think I'm behind by one.
So I think if you've seen the rebuilds, you will have seen up to this point. But like past the armor in the Eva unit, it's like organic matter that
I'm aware
can hyper regenerate. So what I'm saying is, I mean, your finger can burn Shinji all day, but like Shinji's got like endless amount of a protective force field brought on by we won't say
field.
who.
Yeah.
Well, the AT field, but it also like if it goes through the metal, like then it's just gonna grow like limbs and shit, like it did in the does in the actual series. So I don't know for like where the limit is on Unit 1's like regenerating abilities, and I know that what probably is true is Shinji can be like basically just mind broken in there, and just be passed out, but the unit will still respond and like protect him. So so I mean, the power of motherhood is very strong.
Oh, this is another fucking tough one. Oh, I thought I was being really fucking cheeky with choosing Doman.
I mean, like... I was too, and it's also like the other thing that you have on your side is that your character is not fucked up in the head.
Yeah, they definitely got their wits about them and are very skilled at martial arts and close quarters combat.
So that means dodging too.
It does mean dodging, and throwing. But the AT field.
The AT field too is a big
Oh.
one. And now I'm just like, I want to even just Google. I'm like, which one of the units is bigger? I want to say it's probably Unit 1 because the Ava units are
I
humongous.
believe Avas are bigger than Gundams. In fact, I'm actually 99% sure. Let's see. Yeah, hang on.
So
Let
that
me
means
check.
like Unit 1 could like stomp, just like curb stomp the Gundam.
Avas are 75 meters tall. Right.
Okay.
Um.
Okay. So now we need the Gundam height. Tell me. What is it?
16 meters. 16 and a half meters.
Okay. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Shinji's gonna curb stomp.
Yeah. Okay. That's a fucking landslide for you. I didn't realize the height difference was that great. I thought I knew Avas were bigger than Gundams. I didn't. Fuck yeah! I should have realized the fucking the pilot plugs.
Isn't like part of the selling point for Gundams? They don't have to be huge because they can fly, right?
They can fly, and yes, the Burning Gundam is amongst those. But still,
I'm still gonna say like flick of a wrist, a snap of a finger. I think that my berserker Shinji inside Unit 1 would probably win.
I mean, yeah, he did take out the Devil Gundam, which is a regenerative giant evil Gundam, but like he also had help doing that.
Test of true wit. Oh man, I think it's another close one. Honestly,
it is close, but I think Shinji has the edge there.
Wow, Shinji won something. Shinji was victorious for once in his life. He's gonna have that beautiful redemption story that like they try to do with certain servants. It's great.
Especially with the fucking AT field. That's just like AT field is putting me on edge. I don't. It might be hard for Domon, and then like height difference. Oh fuck.
Omedeto, 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 omedeto. Oh my god! All right, this is the final challenge.
Right.
Tell me, for the third match in the Holy Weeb Wars, who have you summoned?
Saber class.
Ooh.
Cloud Strife.
Ooh. Oh shit, son. Okay, give me a little bit about his attack style and stuff because I am terrible and I know Cloud by name and like by the games, but I haven't played them because I'm terrible. So tell me what he does.
Cloud specializes in a large type of sword known. I don't actually know what the class of sword is, but it's generally referred to as a buster sword. It is not necessarily the sharpest of weapons. It is just effectively a giant sheet of metal that has been sharpened to an edge.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah,
it doesn't really
really
matter
big.
how sharp the blade is. It is also like pure mass of metal. But he's also pretty skilled at riding like motorcycles and chocobos. One question is if we're allowing materia, because that would give him access to magic, but I'm probably guessing not. But even so, once he gets like receives and deals enough damage, he gains access to what is called a limit break. There are multiple limit breaks that he has at his disposal, but the main one being Omni Slash.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
Which is literally like in rapid succession, he will attack over and over and over again, finishing off with what was effectively his first limit break, Braver, where he jumps up into the air, holds his sword right above his head, and with not only the sword's weight but his own, bring it crashing down upon you.
Ooh, very nice.
It is raw power, but also with very skilled at swinging that sword around.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I kind of like the raw power, like the feral kind of big blade sort of thing, because that goes well in theme with my heroic servant, a rider class, San of the Forest, aka the Princess Mononoke herself. And she's a rider
Ooh.
class because she is riding on the backs of her white wolf comrades.
Fucking Cloud is associated with wolves.
I can't right now.
How did we do this? This was not scripted.
No, it's not scripted, people. That's nuts.
Ahead of time, decided on 3 characters with no word to each other.
Nope.
Fucking how did we do this?
So here's my question. That's not a good advantage to me, because the thing is Cloud associated with white wolves, or like just wolves in general?
Just wolves in general. Cloudy Wolf is and his motorcycle is named Fenrir in Advent Children.
So here's the other problem: is that Cloud already has some rider ability, and so that's also really hard. The other thing that I keep considering is that they are both, I mean, they're both pretty much kind of like heroes in their stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I honestly think would happen is I think that there would be some big bad and the two of them would team up be like the world's strongest like servant power couple team, like in the entire world. And I mean, I'm fine with that. I would obviously form an alliance with you if there is a big bad that we have to defeat.
Yeah, I'm happy we're calling this a draw.
I have a question, though. I have a question that we should mull on for a second. So, we do team up, and we have our servants that team up, and they are going to defeat the big bad. We have to come up with an antagonist anime servant, and we have to come up with a class for them. So, who are they fighting?
Antagonist anime servant.
So who's a big bad? Who's just like terrible that I hate? That's a good question. I mean, I have one sitting in my back pocket, but it's already a meme on this podcast.
The moment you said that, I know exactly who you're talking about. And he would also class as we could actually class as a caster servant, thinking about it.
Ooh, that's a good, shit. Yeah. Because at first I was thinking rider.
I thought rider, and yeah, obviously. But then I was like, no, he manipulates people a lot, and therefore, because of that, I think he would also fit the
caster class. I think you're right. Honestly, I'm A-okay with that. I am A-okay with San and Cloud kicking his ass. So, we are going to go and defeat caster class, the big bad, Akio Otori from Revolutionary Girl Utena. That's what brilliance we've spun the greatest story known to man. John, that's an anime series that we have to promise to produce one day.
And that's 7 servants as well.
All right. So, going into our little review today, we are going to be talking to you about a show called Fate Extra Last Encore. And Fate Extra Last Encore was animated by Studio Shaft. You know them for a lot of things, including the Monogatari series and Madoka Magica. The synopsis goes as such. Waking up in a strange virtual world with no recollection of the past, Hakuno finds himself forced to fight for survival in a war he does not understand for a prize beyond value, the opportunity to have one's wish granted. With only an enigmatic servant by his side, Hakuno Kishinami will have to face both friends and foes in battles to the death in order to not only gain possession of a mysterious object known as the Holy Grail, but also to find the answer to the most important question of all. Who am I? That it's funny that the entire reason that I checked out Fate Extra is nowhere in the synopsis. And the entire reason I checked out Fate Extra was for Best Umu, Nero. So, story-wise, I feel like if you do not have knowledge of a couple things, this story makes no sense. I think that you need to at least have a sense of the Fate universe. You've seen either some other Fate shows or have played Fate Go or know some of like the servants or the way that the show works. And if you have actually played the series that this show is centered around, which is Fate Extra.
Yeah, the video game for that was originally out on the PSP, is available for the Vita via the PSN store.
Oh, nice. I have the second one. Not the second one, the third one, I think. Fate Extella. That one I have.
That is a sequel, whereas
right.
Fate Extra CC, which I don't think we ever actually got here in the West, but Fate Extra is definitely available on the PSN store for the PlayStation Vita.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually really good that you plugged that the game is available, because I do think if people have an interest in watching the anime, I mean, first off, I'd highly recommend playing the game first.
Yeah.
And thankfully, this isn't a case where that isn't available to us. Like sometimes, you know, we'll as Western anime fans, we'll find anime adaptations of games that just aren't released yet. So that's a good thing. But to its record, I don't think that this show did a good job of making its story clear to people that come in with fresh eyes.
Yeah, I was, as I was watching this, I was like, wait, this isn't a retelling of Fate Extra. It is actually a sequel to Fate Extra.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't make that very apparent from the start at all.
Yeah, like I caught a few things because, again, I have brief intro to Fate Extra and I know of the Fate story. There are little like Easter eggs that they drop. Like I would say like the first scene that you actually see,
yeah,
like where everything is falling, you know, and then someone looks at someone. Like I caught that and I was like, that makes me think that this might not be, you know, like we're starting from ground one. But to get, I guess, out of going into details that like we know of contextually and thinking about for people that are going in firsthand, I think this is really confusing. Like I didn't watch all of Apocrypha, but I think the premise of this one is probably like the most confusing Fate story for someone to dive into.
Mm-hmm.
Like up to date. Do not watch this as your first Fate
This
show.
is definitely not a gateway series to the Fate franchise.
No.
If you want a gateway series, start at 0.
Yeah.
Start at Dean's Day Night is what I want to say, but
I'd even say do Fate Stay Night. Like, because at least those lay out, this is how the Holy Grail works, and these are your players. You know, like it's clear enough. This one is not.
No. This one definitely relies on you having prior knowledge of what a Holy Grail War is, what the classes of servants are and how they work, and like the importance of knowing the identity of your opponent, of the opponent's servant.
Yeah, and I feel like it also doesn't help the story that our main character has no idea what's going on either. So it's just this, to me, the story presents itself as like a spectacle that is really cool to look at, but like you don't have any idea what's going on. And neither does Hakuno. You're just kind of here looking at things.
And nobody's really explaining it to him either. Like, in the original Fate Stay Night, Shiro doesn't really have a clue what's going on, but that's an excuse for everyone to explain to him what the fuck's going on. And like, here's the deal. This is what's happening. I'ma help you.
There's a lot of just also vague dialogue in this. I mentioned Monogatari because honestly, sometimes I felt like this was just a Fate reskin of a Monogatari series. And by that, I mean it was lots of pretty characters that were really well animated, that were talking, but like the words that they said didn't usually like amount to much or explain much. It's just pretty people talking. And sometimes that's how I felt with this show. Like the words didn't always carry a lot of weight. But do you disagree?
No, I do agree. Like, I mean, Nero was perfectly in character to how she behaves in in the game, because I have played the game. But yeah, she is very, very true to how she behaves in the game. I would say that really applies to all characters. There are certain exceptions, but like they make sense why they don't behave the same. But on the other hand, in the game, it did get explained. But then in the game they had time to explain it. And I would think they did have time to do it, they just didn't for some reason.
Another thing I think that people should know, even if you've seen like Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night and some of those, know that you will run into visually the same characters within Fate Extra, but it's like, this is the thing I hate about Fate. Like, it's kind of fun, but it also annoys the shit out of me, is that like there are multiple versions of every character that like exist in one universe. So even though we see Rin, it's not Rin. It's like a different Rin. Even though you see, who else do you see? You see Shinji and some of the characters.
Sakura.
They're not.
And Kotomine.
That's true. She showed up for like a second. But they're not their original selves. And it's just confusing.
Right, so Fate Extra is set within a simulation.
Yes.
In a supercomputer on the moon.
Yep. Thank you. That needed to be out there and clear, like, right from the beginning. Yeah, so everything is a simulated world, and
so the characters in this simulation are taking on the roles of having avatars of these other characters. And
yes.
And in the game, during the first day or so, or whatever, at the start of the game, effectively, everyone had lost their original memories and were just playing the role of whatever character they were given, with the main character effectively filling Shiro's shoes in the relationship between Shinji and Rin, although Rin, being the badass she is, already had her original memories, whatever. Sakura is actually an NPC. She is not a master. She is an NPC who runs the nurse's office. And in the game, her role was that she gave you a bento box, which was a health recovery item every day. But then she had other roles outside of the game, but outside of just that, like story-wise. But yeah, unfortunately, in this game, in this series rather, she is just there as a bit of a cameo, more than actually a character. She is there for just one episode, and then she's gone. In one scene, rather, and then she's gone.
Yeah, there were a lot of characters, actually, that they brought up in the first episode that then just completely dropped off.
Yeah, Kotomine was another one.
Kotomine was one. We don't need to clarify in the game, because I want to stick to anime so we're not here too long, but that kid Leo, also, is, like, set up to be very prominent, but doesn't show up later, which might also have to do with the production issues with this show. The biggest flaw in this story, like, confusing minds, whatever, be damned. It was still kind of fun to just watch and look at for me. The biggest problem is that there's no ending.
Yep. You get to episode 10 and it ends.
Yeah. So, like, if I had to wrap this up as, like, story-wise, it is our main character, Hakuno, the Saber of Red, well, not Saber of Red, that's an Apocrypha, the Red Saber that he summons, and their friends basically going through these different, I forget what they're called, but like the levels.
Flaws. I can't remember.
The floors.
Flaws is the easy way to say it. I can't remember exactly what they call them either.
Yeah, the stratums.
Stratums, that's it, yeah.
Yeah. So they're ascending stratums to get up higher. The higher they go up, that means that they have to, well, each floor that they go, they have to fight the floor master, and then they get to ascend, and they get to go higher. They want to reach the top, and then when they defeat whatever master or whoever is at the top, they will have won this simulated Holy Grail war, which has been broken for a long time.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, but again, I don't think it's executed clearly enough. And again, you can't even really appreciate that if you haven't seen other Fate shows before, where like they have had traditional Holy Grail wars.
Yeah, I believe the story of this, I'm not sure if this will count as a spoiler, but basically this is set after the end of Fate Extra. And for whatever reason, Saber and main character are back at the ground floor.
Okay, so that's why it's also broken, because it's, after the original timeline. But again, like, I feel like reviewers can also even understand, like, as we're talking about it, the story is not very easy to understand. Like, it's messy and it's gunky. And John, would you say that you recommend people play the game first or over the anime?
I would recommend you play the game first.
Okay.
At least play through with Nero first.
I mean, that's just because she's best girl, Umu.
I'm not sure if this will be spoiled, but play as the girl. Play as female protag and choose Nero for your first play.
That's what I did on Extella.
That is what that's what I've done actually in Extra and Extella.
Yes.
But
I guess we can move through there to talk about characters, because again, I think the main highlight of this show and the individual that carries this show is none other than best Umu, Nero Claudius, who I love. I think that's 2 more Umus. Okay, 3. So I feel like for people that, again, aren't too familiar with Fate, they'll think she's just a recolored like Arturia, King Arthur in the Saber and all of the other like main Fate titles. But I really like Nero because she's very different.
She definitely suffers from Saber face, which is a thing throughout the Fate, or rather throughout Type Moon, actually. Because there are other characters that are actually older than Fate Stay Night, who also have Saber face syndrome. It's just that Saber has become the most famous one with this same face design. But same face, same hairstyle, but a completely different color scheme, and more importantly, a completely different attitude and personality. And it doesn't take you long to realize, no, this is definitely not the Saber we are familiar with.
Yeah, and that's what I love about her. I love that Nero, to me, she's a bit more childish, which results in her being like very feisty. She's not naive. She's sometimes like overconfident and may present herself as naive for character reasons, which I can't really like dive into. But she's very spirited and she's fun and she's expressive, and I love her a lot. She's my favorite of the Saber faces.
She's definitely up there.
So after talking about Nero, I guess we could talk about like Hakuno. And I'm going to be honest with you, I thought Hakuno was really, 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 really bland, and I didn't care about him.
There was some things about him that I found intriguing, but it was also, again, in the game, the protagonist is a silent protag.
Yeah.
And I feel like, while they did at least give him dialogue, they still don't have much of a canvas to, like, they don't have much of a basis of a character to base them on.
His struggle made sense, especially for a blank face character. Like, say, who am I?
And to say that the main character in the original game didn't have a struggle or anything, they did. It was actually a different struggle. It was actually a different struggle, similar struggle, but definitely a different struggle. But yeah, it's they were a bit. They're even more bland than Shiro.
Yeah, Shiro did things, like, and maybe it's because we didn't get any background on Hakuno. You know, we're just really thrown into, okay, things are happening, like, hey, what's going on? But, like, he also just didn't react to things. You know, like, Shiro was a bit more, like, shy and would get, like, embarrassed about things or, like, frustrated about things. But, like, Nero could be doing anything. Nero could be doing the, like, 360-degree shaft head tilt naked, like, in the bathroom, and he's just, like, sitting there stone-faced.
He'll kind of, like, glance away, like, you shouldn't be naked here. But, like,
Yeah.
he still wouldn't really react to it beyond, like, turning his head slightly.
And it was kind of sometimes just, like, for me, jarring and or draining, because I understand complementary personality types, but, like, for as animated and exuberant as Nero is, it was really, like, weird to me to have her have, like, such a bland and, like, unreactive master. Like, I didn't really understand why she was compelled to stick with him. Story gives us, like, a little bit more. There was one scene of Hakuno that I really liked, and it was in episode 2. I won't spoil it, except for saying probably, like, mana transfer while they were fighting Drake.
Mm-hmm.
And that was hype. That was actually kind of hype. I like that scene a lot.
Yeah, I fucking love that moment.
Yeah, but after that, he didn't really do much, and a lot of the show for me just, like, there were interesting things, but a lot of it just kind of fell flat. Like, Hakuno I didn't really care about. Rin was fun, because she's Rin. Like, I'll always enjoy seeing Rin on screen. And then there was...
Rami?
Romy or Rami, yeah. Although I couldn't get too attached to her. I like her design a whole lot.
She wasn't around much either.
Yeah, she kind of came in and came out when the story needed her. I liked the characters that are presented to us in the nursery rhyme arc. I think I'll say that. That was nice. That was a fleshed out backstory.
Nursery rhyme was definitely my favorite episodes. Was it only one episode? I can't remember if it was one or
2.
Two. Yeah, it was 2 episodes. That was definitely my favorite episode. And
I'd agree.
Outside of Nero, I'd argue that Nursery Rhyme is my favorite servant in Extra. And definitely the most interesting concept, because, like, Nursery Rhyme is caster in this, and what the fuck's Nursery Rhyme? Nursery Rhyme is books. Is literally children's stories. And in this example, it takes the form of Alice in Wonderland. But it isn't specifically Alice in Wonderland, but just because the form it takes depends on the master's preference and a story that the master has particularly latched onto.
You know, I kind of liked what they tried to do with Shinji's character, like this universe's Shinji. I actually thought it was kind of interesting. I mean, he's still a dick because he's Shinji and he can't not be a dick. But I liked the story they tried to give him. I liked his team up with the servant that he ended up with. Again, I don't really want to spoil, but that was an interesting pair up, especially because that servant was sort of a nurturing figure. And I'm like, Shinji's such a dick, but, like, interesting to think of how having, like, a nurturing, like, figure would
so
what that would do to him.
So supportive of his decisions as well.
Yeah. Like, if you looked in the end credits, which I watched every time, and they had the, like, individual art of whichever team, servant and master, that we were facing in said episode at the end, she's, like, cradling him while he's, like, dead and or, you know, just, like, laying there looking very anguished. And I was like, that's a cool dynamic. I wish we got a little bit more time with that. But I will say it was probably my favorite iteration of Shinji, but that's not scraping very far, because he's usually a dickbag.
Yeah, Shinji is generally not a likable character, but this version of Shinji you can sympathize with him. You can actually, like, there are things that you pick up eventually they're like, no, I actually get where the fuck you're coming from here.
Mm-hmm.
And when you like realize just what he did with certain reveals that come later on, like wow, man, fuck.
Yeah, ooh, I know what you mean. Yeah, that kind of hurt. Yeah, any other characters you can think of? I'm good to move on to production.
There was, I am completely forgetting her name. Shinji's girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, the pink-haired girl.
I do not remember her from the game, and
Oh, maybe she was anime only.
I was also sort of like, the fuck is your deal? And she does come up again later, and it kind of left me kind of confused.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ooh, okay. So, brief bounce back, but that was another thing in story that upset me a lot, is there's a lot of hopping between, like, hallucinations or, like, different time periods and, like, flashbacks and shit, and they just hard cut it so much, and I'm like, Shaft, this hurts. Like, I don't know what I should take seriously or not, because everything, literally, they just show something, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, now we're here. Now, welcome back. Like, and I understood it when it was in the nursery rhyme arc, but it just, I don't know. I felt like they didn't want me to understand. It's just treating me as something, a toy to be played with. But yeah, how about that production? What did you think of what Shaft did with a Fate series?
In some ways, I'm like, Shaft, you can do better than this. And in other ways, I'm like, this is also a very typical Shaft show. Like, yeah, for the most part, it looked very much like Monogatari with a Fate skin on it. And then you would get to nursery rhyme, and then suddenly it's, oh, we've entered into a witch's domain from Madoka.
It literally looked like they just took, like, textures and, like, I don't know, background, like, frames and stuff. It was straight up Madoka, which was really insane, and I liked it a lot. Actually, I feel very similar. Something I really appreciated about Shaft's art was definitely the background art and the distinctions between each stratum design. I thought that each stratum looked like had its own identity, which was really cool. Lots of different, like, colors were used, and, like, even just, like, the weather that happened and, like, lighting and stuff. They all were very unique, which gave me some interest. Like, when we'd ascend and go to another stratum, I'm like, oh, wait, what's going to go on here? This is totally different than the last one.
And characters
action,
just interacting with each other. That was very good. But action felt stiff.
The action was so janky at times.
And I think that some of that came down to that they kept things too on model. Like in the intro, there's a scene which there's a few clips which show Nero, that show Saber swinging her sword around, and if you was to pause it frame by frame by frame, each of those frames would look gorgeous. But you need to have things when you're doing fast motions like what Saber was doing in those clips. You should have things go off model and look a bit rubbery, not because the thing is rubbery, but because it conveys motion a lot better, and fluidity of it. And like, I've seen so many people like taking random freeze frames from things and showing like things have gone completely off model, and they're like, oh, bad animation, look at this. And it's like, no, you're not supposed to look at it as individual frames. If you watch that entire sequence as an animation, you'll see it flows and it's gorgeous, like Armin falling off the horse in Attack on Titan. Like, you freeze the frame of when Sakura's spinning her staff in the original Cardcaptor, you'll actually see that you'll just like have weird shaped blobs.
Right. Yeah. I agree completely. I mean, I think that one thing that was really lacking was like fluidity in this show. It had cool like, what am I looking for? Like, kind of just shot designs and stuff. Like, there were enough unique camera angles and things, but the motion was really bad. Like, I did not like it at all. It was funny because a lot of times I'll watch shows with action and I'll think, damn, I would love to use, like, this scene in an action AMV. I would not want to edit an action AMV with Fate Extra.
Yeah,
I think I would have a very hard time with it. Not to mention that a lot of the fight scenes were very anticlimactic. They were very short. A lot of the times it was like one move, and so actually a lot of the time I kind of tuned out during the fights. Usually what I paid attention to was a lot of the preamble of like characters speaking and interacting with each other, and yeah,
figuring out how they're going to tackle the next challenge and just like the other obstacles that they faced. Not so much like, oh, we're actually going to fight now.
Also, music-wise, the opening and ending were, like, serviceable, in my opinion, for the show, but neither really stuck with me.
No.
Like, I don't think for me I would check out... Okay, I wouldn't check out the opening. I wasn't a huge fan of the opening. I did actually really grow on the ending, and I think part of it was, like, the beautiful art that they used there. But I also liked how intense the song got.
I definitely liked the ending more than the opening.
I agree. Yeah, I don't know. Like, TM Revolution is really cool, but, like, it just wasn't a very catchy song to me. And the animation, like, I got what they were trying to do with having Nero, like, fight shadows in her Coliseum, but it looked like she was just swinging her sword around at nothing. So I was just like, this looks kind of silly.
And again, with the stiff animation of her swinging the sword around, I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just so much about the opening was just rubbing me the wrong way, especially as an animation student. Squash and stretch is the fucking basics of animation.
I liked the... You know what's funny? I actually ended up watching this show in English dub, and unfortunately, they did cut out Umu, because, you know, how are you supposed to just incorporate Umu into English? I get it. But despite that, Nero actually did a very good job. Fun fact for anybody who's played Persona 5 in English, it's Morgana, which was very interesting, but I grew used to it. The other Fate voices, too, for characters in other, like, English dubs of Fate, they brought them back. Like, it's the same English voice actress for Rin, who was in Fate's Day Night UBW, and etc.
Same for the Japanese cast. They got the voice actors for Rin, Shinji, Sakura, and Kirei from the Japanese dub of those characters for this.
So that's good. There's that consistency. But yeah, I thought the voice acting was fine. Animation, just like you said, I think it was designed very pretty, but in execution, it was kind of underwhelming for a Shaft show. Yeah, unfortunately, I guess really for me, nothing really like stood out in each aspect of the show. Like, animation was like pretty, but like serviceable. Characters, some of them were pretty good, some of them were very meh. I think the story is fun if you're, like, into Fate, you know, but it's not anything special. Do you want to go into ratings real quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can go into ratings.
So, I'll go first since you passed this show, so you can get the last rating on it. So, following up exactly what I just said, you know what, Fate Extra is a weird case for me because I actually did enjoy my time with it. I kind of binged it pretty well. And I think it's really, though, only because I'm so knee-deep into Fate at this point that I just wanted to watch it for the cameos. These are characters that I have fun seeing, you know, that I have played in Fate Grand Order, or I have seen in other Fate shows. So it was really just fun to kind of turn on some pretty, like, eye candy and then just kind of tune out. It's one of those, like, popcorn shows for me. So on an objective level, like, there were times when I liked it. There were times when I was like, yeah, I'm just happy to check it out. But a lot of the, like, enjoyment just as an anime is really low, and I think it's kind of underwhelming. So I fall somewhere around, like, a check it or a skip it. If you are a Fate fan, definitely give it a check out. But also, if you're not, yeah, I honestly think you could skip this. I don't think there's anything that would keep you watching it or enjoying it. All right, what about
We
you?
also didn't mention the fact that the last 3 episodes are actually an OVA or something.
Yep, that's another thing. If you want an ending, don't go to this show.
Yeah. So the actual ending is not on Netflix.
Mhm.
I don't even know if it's available for us to like even find to download anywhere. Like cough cough.
Right?
Watch your anime
Yeah.
legally, friends. If you're not familiar with Fate Stay Night, definitely avoid this. If you haven't played Fate Extra, I will also probably say skip this. But if you are familiar with Fate Stay Night and you have at least played through Saber's route in Fate Extra, then check this out. I actually
Okay, nice.
because I had played through the Fate Extra Saber route, I did still actually enjoy this enough. But if you haven't fulfilled those prerequisites of at least playing Saber's route in Fate Extra, just don't. Do yourself a favor. Just don't. And I
Yeah.
can't. And unfortunately, Fate Extra as a game is also a bit of a hard sell because it's on the Vita. It's on PSP and it's on Vita. Um, but I'm not gonna tell anyone to go out of their way and buy Vita to buy Extra just to watch this because whether you'll like Extra as a game as well, it's also gonna be hit and miss
That's a good point. I
because of
hadn't
the
even thought
combat.
about that.
Um,
Mm.
I mean, not that. I mean, there is stuff to enjoy about the combat in the game, but still, um, if it intrigues you at all, and you happen to already have a PSP or a VR, then by all means try and get Extra and check it out. And then if you do like it and do manage to play through Saber's route, by all means check this series out, and hopefully by the time you get to it, the ending will be available. But I suppose as it is, I can't really check it if you're a Fate fan, but if not, skip it.
Yeah,
Ultimately,
unfortunately it's like a highly just like a highly niche watch. Like it has to have those conditions on it. Like there's not
mm,
really a way to just give it an all-around rating, I think. Let's see. I guess to give some alternate anime recommendations, I mean honestly, I say check out anything Fate. Check out Madoka Magica, maybe?
yeah. I mean, if you know the if like the conversations parts of it and that style of animation is up your alley, then go check out the Monogatari series. Definitely.
That's very true, especially if you like the pretty girls talking in pretty animation part of
Mm-hmm.
that. Absolutely. We said Madoka. We said probably Fate Zero or Fate Stay Night. Any of those. Again, conditionally, pay attention to the order because, like, again, don't go watch Heaven's Feel movie one right
No, no,
now.
no, no,
Like,
no,
if you
no, no.
haven't seen the other ones.
If you don't want to start off with the original Studio Dean Stay Night, then start with Fate Zero, and then do Unlimited Blade Works, and then Heaven's Feel. But if you're willing to go all the way back to the original Studio Dean Fate Stay Night, I say start with that one, and then Fate Zero, and then Unlimited Blade Works. Because I definitely feel like the Studio Dean version is the best starting off point for this franchise. Don't start with Apocrypha. Do not start with Extra at all.
Yeah, I do think that this is probably the worst jumping off point
Yeah,
of a Fate show.
this is the worst entry point for the franchise entirely.
Oh, wait, debatable. Because Prisma Ilia, though?
This is the worst entry point for the...
John, roast it! Roast it! That's amazing.
I think Prisma Ilia is still fun for people who don't know shit about Fate Stay Night.
Yeah, because they can just take it as like a cheesy, like magical girl anime.
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't recommend starting with Prisma Ilia. But I would argue that Prisma Ilia is easier to get into than Apocrypha.
So I'm gonna just here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to walk over to our wonderful servants, Cloud and San, who have returned with the head of the evil caster, Akio Otori, who is now dead. And
Yay.
we are going to raise his evil head up and let it be consumed by the forest spirit, who will also cleanse our fallen comrades, Sebastian Michaelis. What is the Gundam guy's name that you summoned?
Dolman Cashew.
Dolman Cashew, Shinji Ikari, and Alucard. And the world has now been purified. The Grail has actually not fucked up the universe like it does in a lot of different Fate series.
Tends to fuck
And
up
we
these...
are... What's that?
It does tend to fuck things up. It's like,
It does! But this time, everything is shiny and clean and beautiful.
and awesome.
And John and I are going to walk towards our new bright futures that lie ahead. So, good night, everybody. I bid you adieu.
Good night. Emma.
走れソリよ風のように something 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 パドルパドル